G'day everyone, I'm Falconer Grey, and today I'll be taking you through a Mechwarrior 3 speedrun. This is a segmented run that I originally performed for the Speed Demos archive, and a segmented run means that each level is played over and over until the runner has a time that they are happy with. Not having to worry about mistakes and dying allows us to push for the fastest possible times and strategies, and it makes for some exciting high-risk plays that you might not see in a traditional run. I do also hold the world record for a single segment Mechwarrior 3 run, so be sure to check that one out as well if you're interested. Now, let's have a look at the run. Starting at the menu, we get everything set up. We're on the high difficulty, none of the cheats of course, and we start a new campaign.
Objectives: neutralize communication center at Op Point Able, rendezvous with mobile field base at Op Point Baker. Look out for these SRM emplacements.
Right, Op 1 Mission 1, really quite simple, as you'd expect for the first mission of a game. Destroying these buildings here is just about making sure we don't have any obstacles. We can crash through them, but there is a chance that they'll slow us down. And of course in a speed run, keeping our speed up is the most important thing. Very simple objectives. We've got a couple of missile batteries to destroy. Here's the first one. There's also a radar tower, and then we need to reach the final objective. So we take out the first two turrets from range with the large laser. The coolant shots there are to make sure that we're not overheating, because overheating slows us down in this game. We switch to the LRM-5s, and that is our radar target up there. It'll go down with 3 shots from the LRMs. Taking out those little bits there is just again to make sure that we're not going to be running into any obstacles. This bridge explodes and then we've got a clean turn to execute, which leads us up towards the end. You can see on the map in the top left that we're aiming straight for the nav point. We want to be taking straight lines where possible. Take out the third turret, then the fourth will be coming up on the left shortly, and then we're home free. So the idea with this mission is to just be heading straight for the objectives, being smooth, being tidy, not overheating, and that's Op 1 Mission 1.
Mission successful. No determination on the status of dropship Blackhammer. We assume it is down. Objective Able, Objective Baker.
Mission 2 is where things start to get a little bit more complicated, as the AI throws us a few more challenges. We're using a different loadout now, lots more LRMs and a much faster mech. No armor, but we hopefully won't be taking much damage. We've got 2 APCs over here on the left that we need to take out. We want to destroy both of these with one single shot, which is why we're waiting. We need to be able to clear the terrain over there. It's actually a pretty tricky shot, but when they group together like they did just now, we can destroy 2 at once, which saves a lot of time. There's now 4 APCs that we need to take out down here at Nav Alpha. We've just destroyed 1 with the LRMs. That's number 2. Cool shot to make sure we're not overheating. We run over the 3rd and the 4th, and then we just need to make contact with this base so that we capture it, and that is the first objective done. Now we've got these 2 missile turrets. That's the first one down. We're in the water to try and stop us from overheating. The second is actually in kind of a weird position because you need to get over the terrain, but we've managed it just fine.
Mission successful.
Mission 2 done.
Good job, Lance Leader. We found a couple of
Now that mission can be done a bit quicker, but it comes down to the positioning of those AI APCs. So mission 3, on the other hand, is a very slow mission that we can't really do any quicker. The very first thing right off the bat is we send the MFBs, those are our repair vehicles, through to Nav Charlie. We do that before anything else. Now this Firefly, we're going to try and leg him. We want to salvage the Firefly. That is going to be a very important mech for us to use through the run. So legging mechs in Mechwarrior 3 gives us a much higher chance of salvaging them, though it's not a guarantee. And there's a couple of vehicles down here. We don't need to take them out for the or as a mission critical objective, but I've had a couple of ideas that it might maybe speed up our MFBs, but it doesn't always work. Our actual objective is to destroy some buildings. We're here on the first group. It's 3 buildings that we're taking out with our LRMs. Those are the facilities at Able. Now we've got the east facilities at Baker. That's what we're firing on now. And that's actually it for the objectives that we need to do within this mission. The third and final objective is escort field base to Op Charlie. We've already sent the field base on its way, and there's nothing we can do to speed it up. We just need to make sure that we make contact with the nav point Charlie, which is what we're doing now. We're making sure we run over that nav point. Taking out a couple of turrets over here on the left, just to make life easier for us. And we've got, that's the nav point we've just hit, we've got about 1.5 minutes until the MFBs complete the mission. So what we're doing now is actually running ahead and completing some objectives for the next mission. The really cool thing about Mechwarrior 3 is the way that it sets up its campaign with campaign areas. We're in Operation 1, Mission 3, and the map is much larger than the boundaries that we have to play in. And what we're shooting at right now are targets, assets, objectives from Operation 1, Mission 4, the next mission. So I've already taken out one of the objective buildings, taken out 2 turrets that will be, or that would be in the way for us in the next mission, and we've got 2 more buildings to destroy here. Makes no difference to the mission that we're doing right now, but when we start the next mission, we'll see that we've already completed our objectives. And that's the last building. So there's nothing else to be done in this mission at the moment. We can try and take out some of the vehicles and some of the mechs that are here, but there isn't really enough time to do that seriously, and the loadout that we have isn't really set up for doing that. It might be possible to save a couple of seconds in this mission by taking out enemies. If the field base runs into them, or if they get in the field base's way, they can slow it down. But it means that we wouldn't likely be able to take out those buildings. And we're about to see what that means in the next mission. So 3 minutes, that's actually the longest mission in the entire run, and we did salvage that Firefly.
Here are your op points. Expect heavy mech resistance. Fixed emplacements cover these areas. Pain will move
Already taken half of those out. So, these objectives you're about to see are not even there because we've already destroyed them. We're using the Firefly, which is the lightest and fastest mech in the game. Grabbing that double heatsink, which we will need. And we're also using an inventory glitch. I should explain that at some point as well. But we're now in the Firefly. Objectives already complete. Those are the buildings that we destroyed before. Destroy enemy structures at Able. Those were the buildings that were on the left we were passing. And destroy power station. That was the building on the right that we destroyed before. So now all we need to do in this mission is to destroy 2 laser towers and then destroy a factory. Here's the first tower. There's the second. And over the bridge we'll find the factory. There's the first factory tower. Second. And it's done. I love that mission.
Before we move out, you'll have to decide on salvage.
Alright, Operation 2 now. Op 2 Mission 1, also pretty simple, although it is a bit similar to the previous mission in that we are escorting the MFBs. And we can't make them go any faster, unfortunately. So we take a Shadowcat and we give a Bushwhacker to our Lancemate. And off we go. Very first thing to do is send the field base to its nav point. And then we're going to tell our Lancemate to defend the nav point as well, that's actually going to cause a glitch that we're going to be taking advantage of, or a silly bit of programming, whatever we want to call it. We'll see that in a second. We've just taken out 2 turrets. That is the first objective. Now we're going to trigger the enemy Thor, which will come up the elevator and we'll take out in a moment. But if you look in the distance, you'll see some weapons fire. That's the enemy Shadowcat just shooting at the ground, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So here's the Thor. He's down. None of this is actually necessary for the objectives at all, but we're just collecting inventory, clearing the way for our MFBs, such as these elementals. Don't actually need to destroy them to finish the mission, but they'll get in the way otherwise. Same for that Strider that we killed before. Now, if you look at this Shadowcat, you see he's shooting the ground. That's because we ordered our Lancemate to defend that nav point. The way that the game does that is it creates a target, or it turns that nav point into a target or into an object that the enemy AI recognizes as being an enemy target, and the AI is programmed to attack the nearest enemy. So it just sits there shooting lasers and missiles at the ground. That is going to be very important for us later on in the speedrun. We're going to take advantage of that multiple times through, and in some ways it's actually pretty hilarious at how broken that makes the game. Now, of course, we're just waiting for the MFBs to arrive. There is nothing else for us to do. They'll reach their objective and we will end the mission. Alright, now, up to mission 2. This mission is actually a nightmare. We're back in the Firefly, and I'll also point out we've now got 10 ER small lasers. We salvaged 1 small laser from that enemy Thor, and we used the inventory glitch to make as many of those as we want. I'll explain that better in a moment, but this mission, there is a lot going on. Love that headshot. It is very difficult, and you won't see many more of them in this run. We've got to take out these 2 shuttles. Bounce on the first one, bounce on the second. That was an excellent jump, and now we've got a bushwhacker. So he's got to go down. 1 shot. I messed this up a little bit, and you hear that critical hit. I just had one of my lasers destroyed. That will impact us in a little bit. So we've got the Shadowcat to take out. He's done, and at the very start of the mission, we ordered our Lancemate to go to that point. He's doing half the work for us. He's taking out a Firefly, which he just did, and 2 Bulldog tanks. Here's our next headshot. Headshots are really difficult because of how small the hitboxes are. I've only really found it works when everybody is standing still, which isn't really what you want to be doing in a speedrun. So that laser that we destroyed meant that this Orion takes 3 shots to kill instead of 2. So that costs us a little bit of time, but there's so much happening in this run that, you know what, I was more than happy with it. I've done over 500 attempts at this mission. It is a nightmare. To get a 1 minute 29 was incredible. Couldn't believe it. But with that out of the way, up to mission 3. Much simpler and much faster. So we're in the Strider now. We're not using the Firefly because we need the torso twist that the Strider has. The Firefly does not have a torso twist, which unfortunately means that we can't use it in a mission like this because we need to be running one way and looking another. Our first objective is to destroy this elevator shaft that we came up. Our Lancemate's going to do that for us. Our Lancemates will actually target buildings and objectives that are close to them, so we're going to try and use them to take out objectives for us when we can. So we're now cutting across the map. There are mines here that are supposed to stop us from doing this, but it doesn't really matter. We've got a building to destroy, which is that one. It takes 3 shots from these 2 LRM-10s that we're using, and I've only just in the last couple of days been thinking, should I try a different loadout? Maybe try a mech with 3 LRM-10s and try 2 shots, or even see if I can get 6 LRM-10s. But either way, that is Op 2 Mission 3. Really quick, 42 seconds. Great fun. And now the last mission of Op 2. We're back in the Firefly, back with our small lasers, and this one is a blast. It's fast, it's flat out. We need to have tight corners here. We've got 2 really tight corners. We want to keep our speed up whilst we're taking. We don't want to hit the walls either. That will lose us a lot of speed. Don't need to worry about any of these mechs. And we've got to jump, take out that bit of equipment on the left, land on the conveyor belt, take out the turret, and then take out the blast door. Once again, tight corners, keep up our momentum, don't hit the walls, and we've got this factory at the end. Get up close, it will be a single shot, and that's the mission. So that's the end of Op 2 Mission 4. We get a couple of extra mechs there. The Annihilator is going to be useful, but now it's a big change of pace.
We have detected fixed emplacements here. We have no data on current mech and vehicular threats in the area, but they're probably going to be heavier than we've met so far.
So we've now got an additional lance mate. So we're going to give the same Bushwhacker loadout to Mechwarrior, who's our second lance mate. And we're taking a Thor this time, because this is another mission where we need to send the MFBs off to their objective, and we could use a faster mech, but it wouldn't allow us to complete the mission any quicker at all. Very simple in terms of objectives. We've only got one thing to do here really, which is to destroy a base. We took out a turret along the way, just so it doesn't cause us any issues. But the ER medium lasers that we're using have 600 meter range, which is fantastic. It allows us to do a lot of great things. We are taking out this Bushwhacker though. That's not at all required for the mission, but I want to salvage him. The idea being I want 3 Bushwhackers in my inventory, because I want each of my lance mates to be using a Bushwhacker. I've found that it's the best balance for what I want of the strategies I like to use. It's the best balance for my lance mates. It can carry plenty of LRMs and still be fast enough, so that is the way that I've found things work for me. So we took out the base there as well. That was really the only objective. We're going to take out these 2 turrets so that they don't cause any issues for it. Well, just 1 turret, sorry. So they don't cause any issues for our MFBs. They've got to navigate their way through this little tunnel, and they can actually get stuck, which is really annoying if there's enemies and stuff around. So we jump over this ledge. There's 2 Striders over here. 1 down. Into the water so that we don't overheat. 2 down. And at the end of the mission we will have an enemy Vulture and Mad Cat. Don't need to take them out actually, but again it just prevents any issues. We don't want to be sitting around and then have those 2 guys taking out our MFBs and losing us some mechs or equipment. You can do this one in any order. I've been going for the Mad Cat first for some reason. Sometimes I go the Vulture, doesn't really matter. But we've got enough time. This is again another one of those missions where there's nothing else to do except wait for the MFBs to reach the end. So we'll run up here, quickly take out the Mad Cat. Just like so. And then the Vulture. We actually got to be careful with this guy because his twin LRM-20s can put us on our back really quickly. But our lance mates have beaten us to the punch, which is always great. So that's everything we can do. We're just waiting for our MFBs to reach Operation Charlie, or Point Charlie I should say, and that will be the end of Op 3 Mission 1. So we did get the Bushwhacker that we needed. That will come in handy later. Now, a very different mission. We're into the Annihilator that we were given for finishing Op 2 Mission 4. And we're basically going to be playing as turret defense, more or less. Slowest mech we'll be using for the run. Lots of LRM-10s. And we send our lance mates forward. The idea there is to get them aggressive, get them attacking our enemy targets. But once we're in range, we're just going to stop and just keep lobbing LRMs at the enemy. So that's a Mad Cat that we've taken out. We've now got an Annihilator. The objectives in this mission is just destroy everybody. So we'll put this Annihilator down, and then there is the Shadow Cat. Trying to make sure we clear over the terrain. And that's the Shadow Cat done. So with those three taken out, that triggers the second wave. We send our Lance Mates forward, and that's also going to help us out because by sending the Lance Mates up, these enemies are going to be trying to attack that point that I sent the Lance Mates to. So we've got another Shadow Cat. And again, once we're in range, stop moving so that we're not costing ourselves heat. Shadow Cat down. We've now got a Thor and a Mad Cat. And there's another Vulture off to the side, but our Lance Mates are going to take him out before we even get a chance to turn. Just like that, mission done.
Good work, Lance Leader. When those forces moved in, I thought we were finished.
And we've picked up our third Lance Mate now.
My pod was last out of the Black Hammer. I came to ground very near where the dropship finally crashed. About here, I figure. At Op Point Able. No other survivors, long-range comms...
So, on to Operation 3, Mission 2. We're taking a Strider, 3 Bushwhackers for our Lance Mates, and we'll get straight into it. This mission is actually quite complicated. First thing we need to do is send our MFBs through to their nav point. We then send our Lance Mates down to some terrain at the south. They're going to intercept 2 Striders. We've got to take out 2 waves of enemies here, and we need to split up to do that. So we take out the Avatar, which is at the front. 1 shot. Bad shooting, that cost us a bit of time. Actually, sorry, I'll say we could have done that quicker, but you'll see shortly it won't actually cost us any time in the context of the mission. So we've taken out that Avatar from the first wave. Our Lance Mates are taking out 2 Striders, and we're now jumping up onto this bit of terrain to take out a couple of mechs that aren't active yet because they are from the next wave. These mechs will activate, or should activate, once we destroy all of the mechs from wave 1. So our Lance Mates have taken out the 2 Striders to the south. We're going to send them forwards a bit now. We'll take out these 3. It's 2 Avatars and an Orion. Pretty lucky with the timing and placement here. Sometimes these guys can cause some headaches by activating, turning around, and blasting us with their missiles. But all good. And now we've got 1 final Strider, that's this guy here. Once we take him out, that's the end of wave 1. Missed that shot, which is disappointing. And we're very lucky that we didn't die there because we're not carrying much armor. So that's all of wave 1. That is when those other 3 mechs should activate, but we've already taken them out. Our Lance Mates are up there taking out the Elementals just to make sure they don't get in the way. And we've got 2 Owens that are the last 2 mechs of this mission. So there's the first. He's down. And the second. Down. That's all the enemies. And now we just wait for the MFB. It's really tight for time on that mission because there's a lot going on. But we managed to do it faster than the MFBs, which means it can't really go any quicker than that. Alright, back into our Firefly. There's a little glitch here that we're going to take advantage of. You're not really going to be able to see it though. When you restart this mission, an enemy is then able to destroy one of the objectives for it. You're not even going to see it happen. It's so quick you'd barely even notice. But we've got 2 bridges to destroy here at first and 2 buildings. You're going to see one of the buildings will just be destroyed before we even do anything. First bridge on the left. Second bridge on the right. And there's a building there on the right. You might catch a glimpse of it. That's the bridge. We use the tag laser on one of the buildings and the other one was taken out by an enemy. Dodge this vulture, he can actually kill us in a real hurry with those SRMs. We've got one laser tower, a final bridge, and another laser tower, using the water so that we don't overheat. And now we've just got this Thor at the end. So we're going to use the terrain here so that he can't get a shot at us. Get right at point blank range. And he's down. That mission's exciting. It's intense. There's a lot to go wrong, but it's great fun.
Okay, the structure at Able is a secondary objective.
Okay, Op 3 Mission 5. This is the gate mission, you might recall, if you've played Mechwarrior 3. Once again, in the Firefly, we've got 2 LRM-10s and our tag laser. We don't even need to order our lance mates to do anything, they're just going to hang around at the start. We run at full speed towards the first objective, which is a couple of buildings. There's a group of buildings, and we need to destroy 2 of them. This shot can actually be really frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't want to destroy the second building, but that's the first one, and then it's just a final shot on the second. And we've got no armor. Any of these guys can kill us in one shot. So it's actually really stressful to try and not get killed. There's 2 Pumas and an Annihilator there. There's been so many of those runs where everything's good and then just dead in an instant because that's a lot of guns. So we switch to our tag laser, and as soon as we're in range, fire it off at the gate, hit reverse so that we are out of the way of that Annihilator down the end.
Mission successful.
And that's a mission.
Man, talk about your big guns.
Nothing like the long bomb, huh? Keith, thanks for the assist.
Able is the fortress.
And now Op 3, Mission 6. We're back into the Strider. Same reasons before, we need the torso twist, which unfortunately the Firefly does not have. We'd be able to do this mission even quicker if that Firefly had torso twist, but it doesn't. So we're running towards our objective, well, towards the later objective, taking out this fortress as we run past. So that's the objective at Able. We've ordered our lance mates to go to Nav Baker. They're not actually going to have any time to do anything, but it gets the enemies attacking that point. And there is a supernova over here that we are going to take out before he's activated. It's actually a really delicate position because we need to be in range for our medium lasers, but if we're about any closer than we are now, there's an avatar on the left that will activate and kill us. That guy there that just shot at us, but fortunately we avoided him. So we've now got a couple of buildings to destroy as the final objective. We'll use the tag laser so that we can get some free damage without costing heat. Got a couple of buildings to kill, and you'll actually see this avatar here. He's going to shoot into the objective. There it is. He took out the objective for us. That was another great example of that weird glitch that we use.
We're coming in from the east.
Operation 4.
From the Durgan Fortress pinpoint these 3 communication relays. Taking them out slows down Corbett's response times, but expect them to be well guarded. Records indicate a Star of Cauldron Born running the area.
So we go from some of the fastest missions in the game to another slow one. We're actually in the Bushwhacker this time, back for the first time since Op 1.
Basket gauged. Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online.
Order our lance mates to sit tight. There's nothing for them to do in this mission. So this is a big map with some really simple objectives. We've got to destroy 3 radar towers, so they're spread out about the place, and then we've got to destroy a supply train. So we're taking out the first tower, using SRMs for that, so we do need to get close, but that's okay. And we're going to completely ignore all of these enemies. We'll use our jump jets to put the terrain between them and us, and we won't really have to worry about any fighting. So the reason that this mission is quite slow and there's no real benefit to using a faster mech is the final objective that we've got, destroy the supply train at Baker. The supply train doesn't actually spawn into the game until the 3-minute mark. So we can take a Firefly and knock all of this out in no time at all, but we'll just be standing around waiting at the end, and then we'll probably get killed by the enemies on the map. So the Bushwhacker is actually a good balanced chassis for this because it's fast enough. It's faster than something like a Thor or a Mad Cat, while still being more armoured than something like a Shadow Cat or a Strider. So that's the second tower. One more tower up here.
Star Colonel Kotare, this is Star Captain Cameron. Enemy has been sighted moving against our location.
I trust you will deal with them appropriately.
And so you can see, even using the much slower Bushwhacker that we're using now, we've now taken out, well in a second, taken out all of the towers, and there's still more than a minute until that train spawns in, so there's nothing else we could do between now and then. But we do need to put ourselves into position to take out that train as soon as it arrives. And this is actually a little bit of a delicate balancing act. There are some mechs guarding the train, and they are spawned in the entire time. So if we get there too early, we're going to be fighting them. If we get there too slow, of course, that's just time down the drain. So this mission's kind of a bit weird because you've got the whole thing comes down to about a 5-second window, 3 minutes into the run. We're using the SRMs that we've got now so that we can get point blank and just blast the train. We could sit up here on the hill and take him out with LRMs, but the travel time of the LRMs, or the flight time of the LRMs, that's time down the drain. So getting up close means that we're actually going to be saving time by destroying him straight away. So there's the train, spawns in, take the shot, and it's done. So that whole mission comes down to just being right there at the end, at the last second, to take that final shot. So this is now Op 4 Mission 2, and another example of that glitch I described a couple of missions ago. This is a mission where restarting, for some reason, changes the way that we can destroy these buildings. Our objective, really simple, we've got to destroy this village. There is, I should count one day, there's about 30 buildings here that we have to destroy. I don't understand why, but for some reason, if you restart the mission, big explosions happen like that, and splash damage takes out lots of them at once. If you're playing it for the first time, those missiles only destroy one building at a time, which is slow. We've got this laser turret at the end. That's the mission. So I don't actually know why restarting the mission matters, but it does, and you will actually see that strategy used in the single segment run as well. It saves enough time to make it worth doing. Right, now, Op 4, Mission 3. This is another big mission. Plenty going on here. And it's actually a real challenge with just how much combat happens. First thing we do is we send our lance mates north. We've got 2 bases here that we need to capture. So we're going to split up and hope that our lance mates can make a start on the base at Op Able. So we're going to go for the base at Op Baker. There's a couple of turrets there, a couple of elementals, and 2 annihilators as well. So a pretty frustrating mix of the smallest and biggest enemies in the game. We take out this first turret, we don't want him shooting us in the back, into the lake so that we've got our, or we're stopping from overheating. 1 turret, taking out those canisters or gas cylinders, whatever they are, will destroy the second turret. And now these elementals. These elementals are a real pain. Such tiny targets, unpredictable movement, and they can actually do some damage if you're not careful. So the 4 elementals down, 2 annihilators now. We're very lucky that that guy didn't take us out, because we were in his range and he was doing damage that could have gone much worse. And the second annihilator, he's done. So that's the base at Baker captured. We're now going to head over to the base at Able. Our lance mates should already be on their way over and taking out some of the enemies there. We need to destroy a couple of mechs, a couple of tanks, and a couple of turrets to capture this base. So there's lots going on. We're staying in the water so that we don't overheat. We're going to take out the first supernova. That's him done. And there's a second supernova over there. I take out one of the turrets though. There he is. One shot. Two shots. So now just these striker tanks. One, I'm sorry, the turret up the back. And that's the mission. That's a stressful mission, a lot going on. All happening at once, and you can see looking at the armor, we almost died, so very lucky. So you remember earlier I was talking about that that glitch of sending our lance mates to a point on the map or to a nav point, and the way that that affects the enemy AI. This mission is really going to show us how that works. We've changed the mechs that our lance mates are in because there's a lot of enemies here. I don't want them being in bushwhackers and dying because then we'll lose those bushwhackers. And we don't even need lance mates doing anything on this mission. So right now, right there, we just ordered our lance mates to defend this spot. And look at these guys just shooting at the ground. They're ignoring us and just shooting that spot. We can run straight past them. And now we just ordered our lance mates to defend Nav Able up at the top, which is going to have the exact same effect here. It's a little jump off this platform. 2 Daiichi. 2 shots on each. They're not even going to be paying us any attention because they're staring at that nav point we're told them to defend. It's bizarre, it's amazing. Gotta love speedrunning, right?
Good to see you all, even you, Gunner. I think we've got most of the interference filtered out now.
How on earth that happens, I have no idea, but I love it. And now we're flying solo. We're taking a Thor for this one because we need the armor. We need the weapons as well. We've got a bunch of towers to destroy. Here's the first. This map is extremely hot, so we're going to be staying in these small water pools so that we don't overheat. So those are the first 3 towers. We've also got 3 enemy sunders. Here's the first one. We're going to try and leg all of them. And there's a bunch of elementals. Here's one. And we've got this other sunder all the way across. You'll note that visibility is terrible in this map. So it's actually a real pain trying to land the shots. That's partly why we're using these pulse lasers. You'll notice this is the only time we've used pulse lasers in the entire run. Pulse lasers are really helpful because having that steady beam means that we can adjust our aim midway through. Last sunder, it's much easier when you can see them. So that's all the sunders down. There's 3 elementals here, that's them. And now there's a couple more elementals that are across the other side. This is what I mean about the pulse lasers. If we had to take single shots at each of these guys, it would be a real nightmare, but the pulse lasers allow us to adjust, to take the shot and then adjust our aim and land the hits. That little drop into the water just cost us a little bit of time, maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds, which is annoying, but I'll take it.
Mission successful.
Oh sure, just a few light sunders. Okay, finally some.
And now, on to the last mission of the game. You can see we've got everybody in bushwhackers. This is why I wanted bushwhackers for everybody. We're taking the Firefly once more. Really simple. We've got 3 enemies. Once again, we're doing that same trick where we are using our nav points to distract the enemies. We're going to take out 3 mechs and leave 1 for our lance mates. Here's the supernova. We're going to shoot him at maximum range. 1 shot to the leg drops him, and the second one will put him down for good. We're going to turn to the left and find the Cauldron Born. He'll go down with 1 shot, just like that. We've now got the Daiichi, and off to the left is a Timberwolf that our lance mates are going to be shooting at. It's 3 shots for the Daiichi. That's 1, that's 2. Here's the third. We're very lucky. That Timberwolf shot at us and our lance mate just took him out. Mad Cat, not Timberwolf. What am I talking about? And that's the run.
With the conclusion of Operation Serpent and Bulldog and the great refusal at Stratamecti,
So that
power of the clan
was
invaders
Mechwarrior
has
3
been broken.
in 30 minutes.
By destroying Clan Smoke Jaguar,
It's great fun. There's a lot going on. It's really intense. I love doing the run that way because some of the strategies that you saw there are strategies that just would not work in a traditional single segment run, but they're awesome, and it was really cool to be able to do that. So I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure to check out my single segment run because that's really cool as well, and I'm going to do something else with that in the future. Maybe break down some of the strategies and how it all works. So I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thanks very much. That's going to be it for me. Bye for now.
There the Star League fought under clan rules. Elite, vat-born, bred-for-battle clan forces were defeated by the common, free-born, hardened veterans of the Inner Sphere. They are the true Mech Warriors.